Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Dubcast. You've got myself, Poletti, joined as always by Burke, and today we're going to talk about the positives, the negatives, and all of the existential crisis questions that have come out of the Matildas' June international window against Mexico, which was a 1-0 loss to Mexico in Newcastle, followed by a 3-1 win in Sydney on Tuesday night. Burke, I mean, we say it on a regular basis. There's no shortage of things to talk about, but this window has really given us a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it really has. There were two same but different games, I guess. Yeah, definitely a lot to say, even though it was 180 minutes of football. The magic of football.
Yes, indeed. We would like to start with a brief apology for the slight delay in getting this episode to you. Full disclosure, we had an episode recorded that was marred by technical difficulties and was close to unsavable, so we've had to we're basically re-recording this entire episode. So maybe in the 24 hours since, we've had a chance to maybe gather our thoughts a little bit, and it's not going to be as panicked as it was when we recorded straight after the game.
Or it could be worse.
It could be worse.
Who knows? Keep listening and find out.
But we do thank you for your company regardless, and I hope you enjoy the episode to come. So Saturday night, 1-0 loss to Mexico. Tuesday night, a 3-1 win over Mexico. Some of the positives to come out of this window: 4 celebrations for Matilda's accomplishments and recognitions. EVE, receiving a presentation in Newcastle, one of 3. Van Egmonds being the most capped Matilda. She was also joined with a recognition of Alana Kennedy's 150th game as a Matilda, which took place during the FIFA series in April. First games back on home soil since. For that, for that achievement to be recognised, as well as Ellie Carpenter's 100th game, and then on Tuesday night, Caitlin Ford's 150th, and she capped it off with a golden boot.
Yeah, really good stuff from the Tillies. It's crazy to think that Ellie Carpenter has already racked up 100 appearances. Never mind the fact that she's how old am I? She's 26, and she did her ACL as well. Let's not forget that there was a whole year a year-ish, 9 months that she missed out. That's a very efficient 100 caps. But yeah, massive stuff from the Tillies, and yeah, really glad to see that they got to have all these celebrations in Australia as well, because it must be nice for them to be able to celebrate these things with their friends and family.
You can only imagine that it is. As my dear wonderful Samper has decided to have a look at one of the many toys that I have for my 2 wonderful cats. So if you do hear any background noise, I do apologize. I will try to keep it at a minimum, but we love pets here on the show. We love all of our pets. Looking at the positives that came from this window, Joe Montemurro saying after the game on Tuesday, we got what we wanted out of it leading into the World Cup, so it was a successful window. I mean, it doesn't get much more than that. I know I put a post out on Blue Sky saying that I hoped Joe got what he wanted from the series, because and I kind of just let the thought trail off. I did it a little bit more comically. If you follow me on Blue Sky, you'll have seen the post. And Joe seemingly got what he wanted from this series. It was an improved performance between the 2 games. They look like they're adapting better to the possession-based style that Joe Montemurro wants to play, and so there's not going to be as much attack as what I think a lot of fans want. It's very much possession-based, and so it's a lot of backwards passing and, just making sure that you have the ball and trying to pick the right opportunities to go through, which is hard to do against a team that, defends with five at the back. As we saw in that first game against Mexico, they're very compact, they're very solid. It's very hard to, break down that sort of system. But, the improvement between the two games shows that they're doing something, continuity, so to speak, Burke.
Yes, there was lots of continuity. We love the word continuity this window. The high possession football with the back passing and the playing out from the back. I understand that that's how Joe wants us to play. I do. I don't know how much more of it I can watch. It's very much Melbourne City ball, but international level, which is fine when you're Melbourne City and you're doing it every week for 22 weeks in like a row, roughly. It's a little harder to stomach on an international level where, after this window now they're not back together for 4 months. So I guess, the continuity hopefully will pay off because, it's the kind of football you just have to get your reps in of it. Otherwise, it doesn't work. And even sometimes when you do get your reps in it doesn't work. So we'll see how much more of the passing back that can be sort of endured.
On the attacking front, Caitlin Ford, Alana Kennedy scoring goals. Sam Kerrs, I believe, was given as an own goal to the goalkeeper because the initial shot was off target by virtue of the fact that it hit the post and then went in off the goalkeeper's back, which is just incredibly unfortunate. But I mean, you can do all the training drills in the world. You can time everything down to the tiniest second, and sometimes you just have to get lucky with a stupid rebound.
Sometimes goals are more about freak accident than they are about skill and technique. And that's okay. There's nothing that can be done. I do feel very bad for Mexico's goalkeeper though, because that's a horrible way to concede. And like you said, there is nothing you can do about it. There's no drill that's going to tell you to actually have arms in your back as well and eyes in the back of your head that's going to see that ball. So rough on multiple fronts actually, because I always like to see Sam Kerr run her goal scoring tally up, and so this technically doesn't count as a goal for her, so that sucks too. Fun
fact, it's also not the first goal we've seen scored at the Western Sydney Stadium like that this year, because there was a penalty in the Asian Cup. I want to say it was the Chinese Taipei versus India game where it bounced off the post and then went off the back of the goalkeeper into the goal. So something about that stadium, clearly.
Yeah, you couldn't write it. But yeah, I think the first game left a lot to be desired in our attacking third. And I know Joe talks about it all the time about how, you can't teach that kind of thing. And it's about like the moment and it's about like the picking the right whatever. Personally, I think it'd be really nice if they sometimes just took a shot. I think it'd be really good if sometimes they just like put their foot through it. And we did see Alana Kennedy do that in the second game, where she did nearly completely obliterate poor Ellie Carpenter. I would like to see more of that, but not like that exactly. Please put your foot through it. Just don't put the ball into your own teammate. Because that probably would have gone in, I reckon. I reckon that one was... I think Ellie might have said it, actually, in the post-game interview. She was talking about it and was like, yeah, she apologized, I think, to Alana for getting in the way. But Yeah, the first game was very frustrating because it looked like they really were trying to pick the right pass and the right play and trying to like, don't be cute, guys. Just hit
They're,
it.
they're
Hit it.
overthinking things, right? They're taking that extra
Literally.
touch.
And I do understand that because, you want to play football that looks good, but at the end of the day, you want to play football that wins. You want to play football that wins. You can play the prettiest football you like, but if the other team scores more goals than you, that's the game, isn't it? But yeah, the second game, I was much happier because they decided that they'd brought their shooting boots and their scoring boots. Yeah, so it was good to see that improvement. It's not something you really think you should be having to ask for at an international level. Like, it's kind of like the thing, like, you get there because you're the best and because you score the goals. But yeah, it was good to see that improve in between games.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, Caitlin Ford, fantastic goal. Alana Kennedy has continued her goal scoring form from the Asian Cup. You know, baffling that a defensive midfielder has the most goals for the Matildas in 2026.
She's actually so funny. I can't believe she moonlights on the pitch as a comedian at the same time as being a defensive midfielder. And I cannot believe Alexia Putellas is going to be so lucky to get to share the pitch with the world's greatest midfielder at London City. Like, this, incredible, incredible stuff. Long may the Alana Kennedy goal scoring era reign, because it's really funny.
Who scores more goals at London City this WSL season? Is it Putellas or is it Kennedy?
It's Kennedy. It's Kennedy.
Yep. Right answer. Right answer.
All of my eggs are in that basket. I don't have a lot of eggs, but of them, they're in the basket for Alana Kennedy.
Just giving like my like right answer there. Like, honestly, like as soon as those words left my mouth, like immediately, like when you watch Family Feud and like the person said like the stupidest answer ever, just like good answer, answer. Like the
when they like
family's all
slam the
around
button
them.
really quick to say the dumbest. It's Alana Kennedy. It's Alana Kennedy. Which is no shade to Alana Kennedy. Don't take that as being shady. That's just it genuinely is just the correct answer.
It is. Now, so those are all the positives, improvements in the system. The side looks like it's starting to gel together. The negatives are there was a lot of mistakes across both of these games. They got punished for it, particularly in Parramatta. That being said, both sides made mistakes. It wasn't, simply the Matildas making mistakes. Both sides made mistakes in executing their game plan. Joe Montemurro spoke about it after the game, basically saying it's like, well, it's you can't be making these sorts of mistakes at a World Cup. It's a good thing we're making them now, so that they won't do them again.
They better not.
No. He also talked about the fact that they're not going to convene for another 4 months, and that it's not like they get to jump onto the training track today and tomorrow and sort of iron out those key mistakes, one of which led to a goal, one of which almost led to a goal. In another game, maybe a penalty's given to start the second half, and then suddenly it's 2-2, and it starts to get really tight. Or maybe it was 2-1. It would have been 2-1 at the time. I don't remember when no, it was 2-1 heading into the break. So that becomes 2-2, and then suddenly if the penalty's converted, and so things start to get a little bit tight, and and he basically said, look, it is a problem. Like, he said he wasn't going to sit there and lie that he'd love to be able to jump onto the pitch today and help them sort it out, and there's only so much you can do by showing them the vision in 4 months' time. And it's like, right, these mistakes, we can't be making them that go out onto the training pitch and execute it, because you don't have that immediate feeling. It was like, oh, we screwed up last night. it's not fresh in the mind, right? And so, that's one of the things about international football is that sometimes the windows are few and far between, and there's only so many of them before the World Cup. I think it's 4 windows heading into June, in which there's a mid-June window, and then the World Cup immediately after that window. So that's
Yay.
4 windows to really get things right and have your 23 sorted.
Yeah, yeah. The whole like discussion about making mistakes and stuff, every time it's brought up, I just think of the I can't remember if it was an article or a video, but it was Courtney Vine who spoke about how football is a game of who makes the least amount of mistakes. And she's right. And I hope that Joe is right in saying that they're kind of, I guess, exercising their demons. Exercising? It's a pun. It's a pun. They're exercising and they're exercising their demons. Right? That works, right? Yeah, they're exercising the demons that are all the mistakes. And now that they've got them all out of the way, they will be pure and ready to play good football and not get caught out. Just a lot of the mistakes that were made were just like silly. Like they were making a pass where you clearly hadn't spotted, like I think it was Winnie who passed back to, or someone passed back to Macca at one point and clearly hadn't seen her and didn't know that she was further away than she was. And there was a Mexican player ready to poach on that ball and they nearly did. And yeah, a lot of it was just like silly stuff like that. Kennedy like overextending her leg to reach out when she shouldn't have and then getting caught and stuck basically. So it's all just like silly stuff, and it's also the kind of things that they're not going to do in a World Cup game because it's the World Cup. Like in a friendly you can afford to do these things. Obviously you don't want to, but it's a situation where you can afford to do it. So as frustrating as it is to watch, I can't get in hindsight, I can't be too mad. Because like this is a friendly. It's a, it doesn't matter today now that the game is gone and over.
No, exactly. That's it. No one's going to look back on this game ahead of the window in October and okay, I can't say no one because like there'll be people who'll look back on this game heading into the October window and go, okay, yeah, we remember this error, we remember this mistake. I hope the coaching staff suddenly remembers it. But they're going to look back and they're going to remember the 3-1 score, and sort of it's like, okay, you take momentum into the games and whatnot. Like no one's going to remember a lot of the nuances that went into this game, all the mistakes that were made, right? And I think as you said, it's that's probably a good thing. I don't really know. Like it's, yeah, I guess is what it is. But we do know that the October window will be taking place in Europe. It will be a European camp. Joe revealing that in the post-game press conference. Wasn't able to reveal. He said it. He asked if he was allowed to reveal what teams they were coming up against and was promptly told no.
That's crazy work. That is crazy work. Who does he think he is? Trying to reveal, like, how many months away is this?
4 months, basically.
You want to reveal the opponent 4 months ahead of time. Who does this man think he is?
I don't know. There. So, like, he literally asked, if you've watched the press conference, you can see him asking, and I was the one who sort of followed up on that, in terms of, can you tell us what teams? To his credit, he apologized and said, I can't tell you. I would if I could, but they've just told me no.
We clearly know he would.
Yes. So yeah, and then that presumably means that the November-December window is going to take place in Australia again, which has been the case for the last couple of years. whether the A-League women will take the entire window off or they do the crazy split round of the international window again. There's only one way to find out, and that's wait for the draw. But yeah, so what we'll do now is we're going to play a little bit of Joe Montemurro's press conference for you, and then when we come back, we're going to break down some of the key talking points from that little clip. Look, you're making them now, or the team's making them now, I should say. There's 4 months till the next window. You don't get to go out on the training field tomorrow to,
100%.
sort those out. Does it almost get lost? Maybe that's not the right term phrase to use, but like, when you reconvene in October and you show them the tape, does it like almost, because such a long time has passed, does it like get lost in a way, I guess?
Look, it does. I'm not going to lie to you that it's the next window is in 4 months. That's probably why I even putting out a starting 11 that's close to where we want to be. I'm not saying it's going to be the one at the World Cup, but it's close to where we want to be, and having that continuity. It's because we're not going to reconvene for the next 4 months. So, I could have done a lot of rotations in this camp and played a lot of players and tried things, but I don't think it was necessary because we needed that continuity. So for us, again, playing against the team that played that way, we're not sure whether a lot of teams are going to play like that, but that sort of pressure, we hope that it sticks in Winnie's mind or it sticks in Charlie's mind. And, in that situation again, it won't happen again. And, but you are right. I can't change the FIFA window and go into camp in 3 weeks' time. It is what it is, and we have to just make sure that we've got the benefit tactically out of it, and obviously the ideas to make sure that when those situations happen again, it's we know how to deal with it.
You mentioned there just the squad being close to where you want it to be for the World Cup in terms of the starting lineup. What hope, I guess, does that give someone like Izzy Gomez of being able to break in? She's been here the last 2 windows, 360 minutes of football. She's literally just been voted as the best player in the league, winning the Julie Dolan. She's played all the 5 minutes.
International football isn't about giving people the opportunity because she won the Julie Dolan medal. International football is about the role that they play to help the team to do what they need to do. And if Izzy Gomez makes Letitia McKenna better or makes Mary Fowler better, then that's her role. I think we've got this illusion that we got to give everyone a go in international football. It doesn't happen like that. That's just not a reality. Izzy's a very good footballer. Izzy hasn't played football for the last 3 months. And we had a good chat, and I brought her in and I said, look, for you, it's about the experience. It's about understanding where we want to be. It's about understanding, what your role is going to be in this scenario. You now need to be playing regular football. Once I can see you playing regular football, then you can come into camp knowing that you're at a level that's conditioned to play football. So there's no favoritism, or there's no you did this and you did that and you should be given the right to play international football. It doesn't work like that. Really sorry.
There were 5 substitutions made in the latter half of the game. We did see a lot of those younger players come on.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you make that decision? Was that so that they could get minutes to have a go?
Yeah, Letitia McKenna is one that we're really looking close at in terms of the number 10 role. Holly Mack is also one that we feel is very close to starting in this team. And we just felt that we could inject a little bit more speed going forward because, as I said, Mexico started to push on, and we just felt that we could get a little bit more in those areas. And Remy is doing very, very well at club. She's playing consistently, scoring goals, doing really, really well. So we wanted to see where she was at. And look, it was an opportunity, I think, to have a look at those couple of players, and but a lot of these players now are in a position where they've either got to find some continuous football, they've got to now find some clubs that they've got to be playing continuously, because I've said from day one, there's no givens in this national team. You've got to be playing regularly at club, you've got to be performing regularly at club, and you'll be considered into this national team.
Sort of talking at the substitutions, a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there, players coming into camp, maybe not getting minutes again. you were here, in Australia for the 23 World Cup. You're watching it quite closely as a pundit, and we saw Tony Gustafsson basically roll out the same starting 11 for the entire tournament. I know we just had the Asian Cup and you were able to do a bit of rotating here and there, but are you at all concerned maybe with some of these younger players, squad players who might not have the minutes come the World Cup if they're only getting 2 or 3 here, that maybe it might not work out in Brazil?
No, I think the Asian Cup was a good base going forward, and again, it's sometimes game for game, situation for situation. There will be a lot more players getting closer to those starting 12 or 13 or 15 that if whatever you want to numbers you want to call, but I'm getting closer now to really solidifying that next batch, and I think with the games coming up, we've got Olympic qualifiers next year. I think that it sets us up really, really good to have a good backup squad that will get a lot of minutes. No, I'm confident that going forward, we've just been doing a lot of tactical learning and a lot of information, and to get us to this point. And I feel that the group is growing really, really well, and solving problems. We just now need continuity. Our biggest problem is when we've got too much of the ball, we're vulnerable. So we have to be smarter in those areas when we have momentum. But no, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think we have to start now pushing 2 or 3 of them to really start being that number 2 to the players that are there. But again, it was a camp, but we needed a little bit of continuity because we're not going to see each other for a while. The next 2 camps, I think, we'll be able to rotate a lot more because they're closer together.
Burke, I mean, has Joe just tipped his hand as to what the World Cup squad's going to be, what the starting 11 is going to be? I mean, I know he said it's close to the starting 11, not necessarily the starting 11. I mean, I look at that and I think maybe it's Kyra Cooney-Cross to come back in. Obviously, we know what her and her family are dealing with at the moment. Full thoughts to the Cooney-Cross family for everything that they're going through at the moment. Maybe someone like a Tamiki Yallop. I know Joe's spoken very highly of Yallop since he's come into the role, and had she been fit, she probably would have been part of the Asian Cup squad. Maybe Katrina Gorry goes around for another World Cup. I mean, I know she hinted at retirement after the last World Cup and then played the Olympics and played the Asian Cup. So, she's clearly not willing to give international football up yet.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, but I mean, he hinted that, he's got seemingly most of the squad locked in. Is that a good thing to be saying 12 months out from the World Cup? Even though, and I will preface this with, I mean, we all kind of know who's coming into the squad. Like we all know, half of who's getting selected automatically. That maybe that doesn't matter as much, but actually saying it 12 months out,
Bit crazy. I'm choosing to believe he's playing, he's not even playing 4D chess. He's playing 8D chess. He's inventing brand new dimensions in which to mess with people's minds. And I say that because he has to be, because if he's not, I'm going to lose my mind. I think the other thing that we're not, or at least that you haven't touched on there, is that we don't know what's going to happen in 6 months' time, in 8 months' time. Someone could have the breakout season of their lives. I mean, we've also got players like Sean Fryer, who's out injured right now. We've got players making moves overseas. We've got Tori Tumeth in Canada. She's in Canada. Annalise Rasmussen is in Italy. Someone could have the season of their lives this upcoming dub season and make them, in inadmissible from the squad. We simply don't know. Whether or not that makes them or puts them into the starting lineup is a different story. But for the sake of my sanity, I must believe that this is not, that he hasn't just been like, that he hasn't just handed over the plans to everyone. I hope not.
And that's believe spelt with a capital E, a lowercase v, and a capital E.
That's the only way it's spelled. I don't know why you thought you had to spell that out to people. But yes. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's one thing between, as I said, kind of knowing what the squad is going to be and then actually saying it. Like we could have thrown a dartboard, or thrown darts at a board and picked the Asian Cup squad outside of maybe Alex Chidiac, who I think caught a lot of people by surprise, with her inclusion. But I don't know. I just, on one hand, with the Asian Cup, it worked and it was, just a game against Japan, tough game against Japan, the game that we were all worried was going to result in a semi-final exit prior to the tournament, because we knew kind of how that game was going to play out, and obviously it played out very different on the actual day itself in the final, but we were all worried about it going into the tournament for a very, very good reason. Players got injured, their replacements came in quite seamlessly. Caitlin Torpey coming in, so the replacements came in quite seamlessly into the starting side. And so on one hand, there's this evidence that's taken place within the last 6 months of, okay, maybe this works, and we've got solid 3 weeks worth of evidence that it works. And then we have the exact opposite evidence that it didn't work, going back to the World Cup, where Tony Gustafsson ran the players into the ground, and by the time that game against England rolled around after the extra time and penalty shootout, the players were cooked. They were exhausted. England ran away with that game, and maybe that game still plays out the same way. But, and I can't imagine, maybe it doesn't. I can't imagine, Joe Montemurro is going to take an injured Kaya Simon into a 23-player squad.
He better not. Hello?
I was thinking about this today while I was at work. Let's assume everything plays out the exact same way it did during the 2023 Women's World Cup, but instead of an injured Kaya Simon, Michelle Heyman is there. Is that enough to change the course of the tournament for the Matildas? We'll never know the answer to that question. I just, I wonder, right? And, he's like I said, Joe coming out of this, he talked about the starting 11. He's, got it close to where he wants it to be. He did. I'll read the quote. Quote: "The next window is in 4 months. That's probably, why even putting out a starting 11 that's close to where we want to be. I'm not saying it's going to be the one at the World Cup, but it's close to where we want to be, and having that continuity is because we're not going to reconvene for the next 4 months." I look at that and I think, and I asked him specifically about it at the end of the press conference. We just saw Gustafsson do that at the World Cup. A World Cup, he was a pundit for Optus Sport for...
He was.
I don't know. I feel like maybe we're heading down that path again, particularly given the Asian Cup we've just watched, where, okay, yeah, there was a bit of rotation able to take place, but you can do that when your middle group stage game is against an Iran. If you end up in a group of death in the World Cup, can you afford to do that? Like, we just saw a World Cup where it was a penalty win over Ireland, a loss to Nigeria, and an absolute demolition of Canada, who, were undone by the fact that they thought 40-year-old Christine Sinclair was going to take them to a trophy. I don't know. I hear that and I'm concerned for what the World Cup will look like for the Matildas overall.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's still a whole year before we have to actually find out. However, that also means there is only a year until we have to find out. It's like that meme of the two people are on the bus and one's looking out the window and everything is sunny and the other one's looking out the window and it is hell. You get to pick what side of the bus you sit on. Personally, I would like to get off the bus. But that's not an option because I'm on a podcast about this. So I'll be sitting in the back, rocking back.
Which side of the bus are you looking out of?
I'm right at the back in the middle, rocking back and forth. And you don't make eye contact with me.
It's almost like the Stewie Griffin gif.
No, that's exactly what I'm imagining in my head. That's what I'm doing in the back of the bus. Don't look at me though, because you will become me. Don't do it. Yeah. The thing is, we can kind of play tournament football. Like we don't have as much experience going deep in tournaments as other nations do, but we've got recent precedents. I'm throwing in the recency bias towel. We made it to the semi-finals of the Women's World Cup. I would know that. I was there. I did see Joe Montemurro punditrying around the box in his little scarf, very suave, very dapper, and we made it to the final of the Asian Cup. Like we can actually do tournament football. There's something about, and we made it to the bronze medal match in the Olympics recentishly.
That was the Tokyo Olympics. That was
Yes.
the COVID Olympics. Yes.
Yes. Every time I think of that Olympics, I think of this one shot that because there were obviously no crowds. This one shot that they cut to, it might have been at the hockey, and it was just a roach, just a little cockroach on a bench. And I was like, oh my God, where did they get this photo of me at the Olympics? Cut the cameras. This is not a good angle for me. But yeah, no, we have precedents of succeeding at tournaments on the world stage. So, as scary as it is, I'm a little comforted by the fact that we actually kind of seem to know how to lock in. And we've been building towards this since Rio? Since then? Since 2016?
Rio was 2016, yeah.
Yeah. We have slowly but surely been building and working our way through to better finishes at every tournament that we've been to. So yeah, we know how to lock in. We do. So I'm not terrified. I'm scared. I'm not terrified. Yet. There's room, I can, because I'm in the middle of the bus, I can pick.
Yeah.
The closer we get, I can choose whether I'm going to look out the window and see hell or look out and see sunny skies on the other side. There's options.
There is. Speaking of options.
Uh-oh. This is going to be good.
Look, we have made no secret here of our thoughts as it pertains to squad selection for the Matildas and the future, right? I think that's fair to say, Burke.
Yeah.
Well, you look at Izzy Gomez, who's literally just won the Julie Dolan, and in the last 2 windows, 4 games, has played all of 5 minutes. And that was coming on in the 85th minute against Kenya in a game that was already wrapped up. I asked Joe Montemurro directly about Izzy Gomez, and I stated those facts, and you would have heard them in the little clip that we played. You know, I don't think... I think people might get the wrong idea, and I said this on a recent episode as well, that we're not necessarily saying that players deserve to be given an opportunity, but that, like, if you're selecting them, then clearly they're good enough, and surely you should want to see what you have. And I know Joe sees them in training, and he said that, you know, he had a conversation with Izzy that it's like, okay, you haven't played in, he said 3 months. I think it's closer to 2, but you know, whatever. It's been a couple of months since she's played football at any sort of level, because the Mariners didn't make the finals. She was suspended for the final game of the season. I mean, maybe if she didn't suspend herself for the final, or didn't get suspended for the final game of the season for yellow card accumulation, they make the finals. She plays finals. We're not having this conversation. But I mean, you know, I don't know. Like, I look at it and I ask, sort of somewhat rhetorically, because I don't know if there is an answer to this question. If the literal best player in our domestic competition can't get any meaningful game time when she's being selected for international football, what's the point? I just I know, and I was having this conversation with friend of the pod, Marissa Lodanik. I know that the A-League women is not the same that the W League was 10 years ago. It's not basically the Matildas playing all throughout the league. And I understand it from that respect. And I also understand it's not Joe Montemurro's job to give international minutes. It's not his job to make sure players are match fit and be the one giving them minutes. But also, like, it says Izzy hasn't played in 3 months, but like, you had her straight out of the domestic season in that window in Africa where she'd been game fit. Could you not have found a way to give her minutes in the Malawi game? Could you not have found a way to give her more than 5 minutes in the Kenya game? He hasn't necessarily shut the door entirely on A-League women players. He did talk glowingly about Letitia McKenna, and that McKenna is what they want in a 10, which I think is fantastic, and said, you know, for Gomez, as I said, he's had those conversations with her. It's like, okay, go and get game time, go back to your club, go get game time. But if her job is simply to make Gomez, not make Gomez better. I mean, her job is to make herself better. But if, you know, Gomez's job is to make McKenna better or Mary Fowler better, then that's her job. I don't know. I'm very annoyed, very confused, very frustrated with, you know, the fact that she hasn't had any game time in the last 2 months is because of a vast array of issues, including the semi-professional nature of the dub and the 35-week contracts with the CBA to be negotiated. I'm tired.
Yeah. I mean, let me to quote the TV show I'm now watching. Let me play Devil's Avocado for a second here. I get it, but I do and I don't get it, because obviously it's frustrating not seeing Izzy Gomez play, because we know she's or at least she was voted as the best player in the dub this season. But we did still see dub players getting minutes. Like you said, we did see decent minutes for Holly Mack and for Tish McKenna, and I'm very happy about those. So, like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like,
No, I understand exactly what you're trying to say, but I also think it creates just this massive conundrum as well, because we know that the A-League women's season is going to end in May, give or take.
yeah,
If you don't make finals, the season's going to end late April, 2 months before the World Cup, right? Yeah, there's an international window in June, but that's 2 months before the World Cup. Obviously, that could change. Players secure full-time professionalism in the CBA negotiations, that could change. But, right, like, you're looking at a 2-month gap roughly between the end of the regular season and the World Cup if you're in the A-League women. We just heard Joe Montemurro say it's not enough to play friendlies against Mexico. Mike, and when I say this creates a conundrum, is does that mean these players have to look at overseas moves? Does that mean our domestic league is no longer good enough for players to make the Matildas with any sort of meaning? In which case, I think that creates a lot of larger questions for Australian football as a whole to answer. And I do apologise for being overtly negative about this, but like it looks bleak when you're looking at it from my point of view. I just let's say hypothetically Izzy Gomez gets a move to an overseas league. There's a lot of pressure then to make sure it's the right move to get game time, because there is a massive difference between making a move to the WSL2 and being a starting midfielder, which or defender or what, like, we'll use Gomez here as an example, being a starting midfielder, like what Caitlin Torpy did in going from the NWSL to the WSL2, and making a Courtney Vine-esque move where she's played bugger all time in the 2.5 years, 2 years, I should say, that she's been at the North Carolina Courage. We all understand the mental health issues she's gone through. Not making light of that, but she hadn't been able to break into that squad with any sort of meaning and regularity. And if a player like a Gomez, if a player like McKenna, if a player likes Holly McNamara makes the latter sort of mood, that's their World Cup gone. And that's before the season's even kicked off.
yeah, I think that's the thing about football. It's like high risk, high reward kind of thing, but it's also high risk, no reward. It's a really fickle industry, because you might think you've made the perfect move and then all of a sudden you don't actually get along well with the head coach, or you can't gel with the team, the coach changes mid-season and he doesn't like the player that the previous coach has brought in, and suddenly the player's frozen out. Exactly. So it's really, really unpredictable in that sense. And this isn't just like for football, this is for every sport, really. You just kind of have to make the decision that you feel is best, and then there's nothing else you can really... Well, you have to make the best out of the situation regardless of what ends up happening to you. You know what I mean? Because, you can even make the right choice and be in the perfect team, and then you get injured through no fault of your own. So it's all, like, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing's a given. And like we've seen here, winning the Julie Dolan medal doesn't give you minutes either. But yeah, I do completely understand what you're saying, in that if you can't managed to get minutes by being the best player in the dub. What does that say about the dub? But conversely, Sophie Harding did win. She won the Julie Dolan a couple of years ago.
She did, yes.
And disappeared. So.
Yes, if memory serves me correctly, she played 2 games for NWS Spirit in the NPL Women's New South Wales, went to the USL to, I want to say it was Tampa Bay.
That sounds correct.
And
Nothing.
to be fair, I'd completely forgotten about Sophie Harding until you just mentioned her.
Yeah. See, it's like that, isn't it? That's the thing about football, and that's probably why, one of the other reasons why they should be probably paid a lot more than they are, because it is such a risky business. You could make what everyone thinks is the wrong choice and it becomes the perfect choice. That's happened to a lot of people. I mean, everyone for a hot minute thought Sam Kerr was going to completely bomb out going to Chelsea, and look at what she did. Yeah, I don't know if that's actually a constructive conversation, anything that I've just said. But,
I think it was more
what
of a
what's
conversation.
A podcast for, if not to talk in circles?
I think just a conversation that needed to be had with no real meaning. And that's why I said, I think I said at the top of this little segment, rhetorical question, because I don't think there's actually, and I don't think there's an answer to it other than, yay, get another existential crisis about the state of Australian football.
When aren't we having an existential crisis about Australian football? That's why we started this podcast, so we could have an existential conversation about this state of this football weekly, even. Yay.
Yes. I would like to offer a small correction. I got the right US state. I got the city wrong. She went to Fort Lauderdale United, not Tampa Bay. So I was in the same state. I was in the area.
Close enough. It's all the same, isn't it? Don't tell the Americans I said that. They get really angry at me on the internet, man. I'm so excited.
You've come up against the Americans many times.
I'm so hoping. Sorry to talk about men's football on this podcast, and I can't believe it's me that's bringing it up, but I so hope that the Socceroos can beat the US men's team, because I'm going to lose my mind. And I'm going to make some posts that are so unbelievably inflammatory, I'm probably going to get suspended. And it's going to be so much fun. But I need the Socceroos to do their part so I can do mine. So...
How many of those tweets will contain the word "girt"?
No comment.
So there we go. A nice little bit of a jokey, note to end on after, kind of really dowering the mood. But again,
that's what I'm here for.
Is there anything else we needed to talk about?
I don't think so.
Fantastic. It's almost midnight, so let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of the Dubcast. If you want to head over to the Roundball Australia website, you can read a couple of good stories at the moment. After the Newcastle game, Winnie Heatley spoke to the media, and I wrote a little bit about what she said, talking about coming from regional Queensland and now to being a Serie A champion with Roma in Italy. So, I thought obviously quite biased. I thought that was a good read. And then I also spoke to Ash Letter from Apia Leichhardt following her side's 3-0 win over Sydney University, which snapped a bit of a rut that the side had been in recent weeks as she's chasing down another NPL Women's New South Wales Golden Boot. She's currently 3 clear at the top. Ash Letter, previously known as Ash Crofts, before she got married to her husband James Letter, who plays in the NPL Men's New South Wales. We go into that in the article as well. So a very good read. I'll link both of those articles in the show notes. A little bit of a tease. She talked about wanting to come back to the A-League Women, and based on the conversation we've just had over the last 20 minutes, she also details the reasons why she can't come back to the A-League Women, or why it would take quote-unquote the right offer. So, it's a little bit of a tease there for you. I'll put the link to both of those in the episode description as well. Burke, another window done and dusted, and it's time for us to join Joe Montemurro in taking a little bit of leave.
See you in 5 months. Just kidding. Just kidding. It won't be 5 months. It's actually going to be 12. See you at the World Cup.
No. But in all seriousness, we are going to take a couple of weeks off, and the content will be a little bit less regular over the A-League Women off season. I've got a couple of scouting series videos I'm working on, a couple of interviews I'm working on as well. Burke, I think you said you've got some interviews that you wanted to do down in NPL Victoria, so
We'll have a look.
have a look. Might bring some of those to you. So hit the little notification bell on whatever platform you're, viewing or listening to this on, so you get notified of when we drop new content. You can also follow us on socials. Put a link to all of those in the episode description as well. But for Burke, my name is Poletti. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.